Hello, I'm Carla Fitzsimmons, and welcome to the federal candidates debate for Cambridge riding. Thank you to the candidates who have joined us today. We note with disappointment that Cambridge's Conservative MP candidate has declined to participate. You'll notice an empty podium has been placed to acknowledge her candidacy. We extend our sincere thanks to Rogers TV and our community partner, Citizens for Cambridge, for making this possible. Rogers TV will be airing this debate multiple times leading up to the election. It will also be available to residents to watch at their convenience. To watch this recording and the recordings of the Kitchener South Hespeler debate, along with candidate information and other resources, please visit citizensforcambridge.org. Also on the web, there are links to the recordings of 2 town halls from the same 2 ridings with live audience questions. Candidates, we understand your individual MPs and do not set the party policy. However, we want to hear what you personally intend to advocate for within your party and in Ottawa. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement, 1 minute to respond to each question, 1 minute for a closing statement to end the debate. And if you wish to respond briefly to another candidate's response, you have 30 seconds to do a rebuttal by raising your hand. We know the timing is tight, but this format allows us to cover a wide range of topics that are important. Time limits will be strictly enforced to ensure fairness. Speaking with the order, we begin alphabetically by surname and rotate throughout the debate. Our goal is to get through as many questions as possible with the time we have. So we will begin our opening statements. First up is Lex Burgess. Lex, welcome to the debate. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Carla. My name is Lux Cambridge, and I'm here today to tell you that if you want real change, you need to vote for it. Let's take a quick look back at the past few decades of Canadian Prime Ministers. Brian Mulroney, Conservative, 10 years in power. Followed not too long after by Jean Chrétien, another 10 years in power for the Liberals. After that, we had Stephen Harper, Conservative, 10 years in power. And Justin Trudeau, guess what? 10 years in power. It's almost like we as Canadians have about a 10-year attention span. But what do we have to show for these 4 decades of bouncing between Liberals and Conservatives? The wealth gap has widened, with 20% of the population controlling 70% of the wealth. The public debt has skyrocketed, and the most vulnerable among us are being left behind. It's been decades of broken promises and backroom deals. So today I'm here to tell you it's time to try something different. The Green Party has a plan to make us all breathe easy again, to help those in need, to remake our economy so that it works for the people and not for corporate greed.
Thank you, Lux. Now over to you, José. Welcome.
Cambridge, my name is José de Lima, and I am running to be your next Member of Parliament. I'm a social services manager, a community advocate, and for almost 2 decades, I've been proud to call Cambridge home. The challenges that we are facing as a country need bold solutions focused on workers and families. That's what the NDP is putting forward this election, and I'm proud to have the opportunity to talk about our proposals and solutions to the crises that we are facing. I have experienced firsthand Cambridge's barn-raising spirit and our devotion to lending a helping hand when my family needed it. I'm taking that spirit in the fight for working and middle-class families to Ottawa to fight as your next Member of Parliament, fighting for you with the NDP and our caucus to deliver real results and make lasting impacts. Thank you.
Thank you. Bryan, it's your turn. You have 1 minute.
Thank you so much. First, I want to say thank you to Rogers and Citizens for Cambridge for making today possible. Our community embodies so much of what it means to be Canadian. Resilient, innovative, kind. And I'm honored to serve as your Member of Parliament for the last 10 years. Since 2015, our Liberal government has delivered real results for Canadians, not with slogans, but with substance. Now, as Canada faces unprecedented economic and security challenges, Canada needs strong, stable, and experienced leadership. Mark Carney and the Liberal Party is that leadership. From navigating the global pandemic to combating natural disasters, we have been unwavering. Now we face Donald Trump. Prime Minister Jean Chrétien once said, "You don't panic in a storm, you steer." And that's what I intend to do.
All right, thank you. So the first question up is future vision for Cambridge and your role as MP. What is your personal vision for the future of Cambridge, and how would you, as MP, work to make that vision a reality? We'll begin with José.
Thank you. Cambridge is home to me and 100,000 of our neighbors, and I have had the absolute privilege to work in the nonprofit sector, making that question a reality. Honoring our tradition of our society as Cambridge and our barn-raising spirit to lift each other up. When I think of my role as a member of Parliament representing the people of Cambridge and Ottawa, I think of our work to listen to Cambridge residents and take their issues and concerns to Ottawa to fight for them in the House of Commons. But I also think of the work that we have right here in Cambridge, looking at increasing accessibility, looking at working with other levels of government, looking at making sure that our nonprofit and local agencies are strengthened and that there is funding and federal government support for everyone who needs it. That's what the NDP is putting forward, and that's what I hope to bring to the House of Commons as Cambridge's next Member of Parliament.
All right, thank you. Bryan, your turn.
Thank you. It has truly been an honor to serve Cambridge and North Dumfries. One of the realities of all these debates is often people say, well, I'm going to be your voice in Ottawa, not Ottawa's voice in Cambridge. And that, of course, is true. That goes without saying. But what's really critical is understanding that you need to be a strong voice in your community as well. Showing up is critical. And I have done that for 10 years. And bringing support to Cambridge has been my life's work. Whether it's millions, tens of millions of dollars for housing, tens of millions of dollars for nonprofit organizations, literally hundreds of millions of dollars for the auto sector. This is what we fight for in Ottawa. This is why we need to support all of these initiatives. My background, of course, is in the nonprofit sector. A lot of people in Cambridge still know me as the guy from the YMCA. And I brought that to this role. It's about serving our community, and that's what drives me.
Perfect. Lux, you're next.
Thanks, Carla. My vision is to future-proof Cambridge by investing in clean technology, sustainable infrastructure, and innovation. I believe that supporting small business and green entrepreneurs is the key to building a resilient, competitive economy in Cambridge. It's time to shift away from boom and bust cycles and towards long-term prosperity through renewable energy, energy efficiency, and circular economies. This means stable, well-paying jobs in every community and lower costs for families and businesses in the long run. I support fair taxation, cutting corporate welfare, and strengthening the economy here in Cambridge. Because a strong economy is one that works for everyone, not just the wealthiest few. Canada has the talent and the tools to lead the global green economy. Let's get to work.
Thank you. Okay, now we move to tariffs and trade. So we'll begin with you, Bryan, on this one. With recent U.S. tariffs affecting key Canadian industries, what priorities would you urge the federal government to take to protect Canadian businesses, workers, and consumers?
This, of course, is on the front of mind of all Canadians, but no more so than right here in Cambridge. We have an incredibly strong and integrated auto sector, and the attacks on that sector right now are damaging. We've seen this already with layoffs in Windsor with Stellantis, and we know that this is going to be a challenge moving forward. So I was incredibly proud and supportive of Mark Carney's decision to dedicate $2 billion to support the auto sector and the workers in that sector to make sure that they remain whole and they can get through this crisis. We know that this is an attack not just on the auto sector but on our sovereignty itself, and we will fight for Canadians to the bitter end.
Lux, you're next.
The Green Party of Canada will not stand idle while American tariffs threaten our workers, our economy, and our shared future. These punitive measures are short-sighted and irresponsible. Our response is bold and principled. We will protect Canadian industries by immediately investing in green manufacturing, clean tech innovation, and local supply chains that reduce our reliance on volatile international markets. we will push for a fair trade guarantee, ensuring that all future trade deals include enforceable environmental and labor standards. And we will support Canadian business through targeted subsidies and a green transition fund, helping them modernize and compete in a low-carbon world. Tariffs aren't just about trade, they're about values. The Green Party believes in cooperation and confrontation over confrontation, sustainability over short-term gain, and resilience over dependence. Canada must lead with courage.
All right. Thank you, José.
Thank you. This is a question that Canadians across the country and right here in Cambridge are asking themselves, and many have said this is a ballot box question. You know, we need to understand and ask ourselves who's going to protect, in the age of tariffs and Trump's threats, the powerful and wealthy, and who's going to be fighting for workers. I'm standing with the NDP in our fight to ensure that working and middle-class families are going to be okay through the mess and uncertainty that we're in, because Trump's tariffs are not only hurting the economy, they're causing economic uncertainty. Thousands of people are waking up and they've already been laid off. And in Cambridge, as I talk to businesses, they're getting ready to write the letters to lay people off. And so in a time of uncertainty, we need to ask ourselves, how can our government help Canadians face the crises that we're facing? And so together, we need to understand that we have to protect our water, protect our land, protect workers and healthcare, and stand up to bullies. That's our plan this election.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to the topic of housing affordability. And Lux, this will start with you. What targeted measures will you and your party take to address the rising costs of living, especially affordable housing, lower income, middle income, and first-time home buyers, as well as young families?
Housing is a basic human right, but too many Canadians are struggling to afford a place to live. Big corporations are buying up homes to make profit, while prices keep going up, pushing families out. The Green Party believes homes should be for people, not just for investments. We want to change how we define affordable housing so that it reflects what people can really afford, no more than 30% of their income. To stop housing from becoming a playground for investors, we plan to keep publicly funded housing permanently affordable, close loopholes that let shady money into real estate, and stop big companies from buying up homes meant for families. The Green Party wants to launch a major public housing program, creating jobs and using Canadian materials to build homes that people can actually afford. The Green Party's vision is simple. Housing should be a right, not a luxury. Every Canadian deserves a safe, affordable place to call home.
Thank you. José, you're next.
Thank you. You know, the housing affordability crisis is something that I see at work every single day. Thousands of people in Cambridge and across the region of Waterloo are either experiencing homelessness or are housing insecure. And what we've seen over the last decade is that housing prices and rent have doubled, while unfortunately not enough supports have been given. Just last year in the 2024 point-in-time count, over 2,300 people experiencing homelessness were surveyed. That is a 50% increase from 2021 and about a 300% increase from 2018. New Democrats believe in building affordable housing, deeply attainable housing, but we also believe in making sure that the government gets back in the business of building housing, that the government works with nonprofit organizations, and that we make housing for people, not for profit, that we close tax loopholes, and that we make sure that landlords can't rent evict by implementing rent control in this country.
Thank you. And Bryan, you're next.
Thank you. First and foremost, I am incredibly proud of the affordable homes that we have built in Cambridge over the last 10 years, whether that's 195 Hespeler Road, 175 Hespeler Road, doubling the size of Kirkwood Apartments in Ayr, and hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate all of our co-ops that were near falling apart when I was elected. The fact is we've built more affordable homes in Cambridge in the last 10 years than in the previous 30. But I will agree with my colleagues here. This is a crisis. It's an affordability crisis, and we need to have bold vision for Canada. And I'm incredibly proud of Mark Carney's plan to build more new homes in Canada at a pace that we have not seen since the end of the Second World War. We're going to double the number of homes built each year to 500,000, and the Government of Canada is going to become the contractor to get this done.
Thank you. And now we're going to move to homelessness and encampments. This question will begin with you, José. Encampments are growing in many cities. There are immediate and long-term measures that you will need to push for to support what people are experiencing. So what would those measures be?
We need to start by understanding that part of the increase that we've seen in homelessness is because housing is unaffordable. Unfortunately, in Cambridge, as in other communities in Canada, seniors and families have to make the decision every single month of whether they can put food on the table and pay for rent. So when we look at tackling the housing and homelessness crisis, we must look at providing deeply affordable housing, getting the government back in the business of building housing, but also providing supports. So that includes building supportive housing, co-ops, fourplexes and duplexes. Getting the markets and working with other levels of government to enhance and increase the housing supply, but also make sure that services that the federal government can implement to ensure that people can stay housed are supported by provincial and municipal governments. It needs to be a partnership where everyone comes together to ensure that our people and our neighbors have access to housing.
Thank you. Bryan, you're next.
Thank you. José is absolutely right. We need to build quickly, and we need to build a lot more than we have been. The reality is there are a number of different factors associated with these encampments, whether it is housing, whether it is mental health issues, whether it is drug addiction. And I think a comprehensive approach to this is really critical. I was at the Cambridge shelter just this past week, serving breakfast with a number of volunteers who have been doing this for years. And I took the opportunity to speak to these men. And every single one of them has a story. Every single one of them has value, and every single one of them deserves our compassion and our support. And I am very proud of the fact that our government is going to work with the provinces to make sure that we do not put the cart before the horse, because that's what we're seeing right now. A vilification of these people is not the right way to go. And I will absolutely stand up to make sure that we have the supports right here in Cambridge to help these people.
Perfect. Thank you. José? Or sorry, Lux? No?
Yeah, I think I agree with my colleagues here that homelessness is more than just a problem of people not having homes. There's a lot more to it. But it is a crisis that we can solve with compassion and action. The Green Party is committed to ensuring that every Canadian has access to safe, affordable housing. Our plan includes a national affordable housing strategy where we will invest in building millions of new affordable homes and prioritize the construction of supportive housing for those facing homelessness. We also support increasing funding for shelters, mental health services, and addiction support to address the underlying causes of homelessness. A key part of our approach is to provide a guaranteed livable income, which will help prevent individuals and families from falling into homelessness in the first place. The Green Party is focused on creating a future where everyone has a place to call home, because housing is a basic human right and not a luxury.
Perfect, thank you. Now we're going to move to the topic of supportable housing with mental health and addiction. So Bryan, you'll begin this question when I finish it. Do you support increased investment in supportable housing with on-site mental health and addiction services? If so, how would you try to expand access?
The answer simply is absolutely. Supportive housing is proven to be incredibly effective to not just provide a home, provide a roof, but make sure that person is able to maintain that. The reality that we do not build affordable supportive housing in Cambridge is something that we absolutely need to change. I know that the municipality is not, current municipality is not for this. We need that to change. We can bring dollars to the table, but we're not going to be the ones that determine where these are built. This has to be a partnership with the province. It has to be a partnership with the municipality. Right now, the approach has been to eliminate these services and wait for the cart to catch up to the horse. This has got to stop. We have the funds. We are ready to build. Our approach is going to be completely focused on that collaborative approach.
Lux, your turn.
Yeah, I think I just want to say that I agree with Bryan. The Green Party wholeheartedly supports supportive housing. The funds are there, the need is there. There's no reason that we shouldn't be doing this in our society. The Green Party will fully stand with supportive housing, and thank you.
José?
Supportive housing is a need in our communities, and it's actually something that I'm proud to do when I'm not here in the debate stage. As someone who manages a drop-in center and program for people that are currently facing unhoused homelessness in the region of Waterloo and the city of Cambridge, we work with 19 different agencies, and part of the solution is, as Bryan mentioned, working with the municipalities, working with the provinces. Unfortunately, we've seen that right now it hasn't been a fruitful relationship, and we need to have those conversations with our partners at the other levels of government. But what I see every day at work is frontline workers and street outreach workers working with people that are ready to get housed, that are ready to apply to supportive housing. But the wait list is 6 to 9 months long. But they don't actually have the supports in Cambridge, and so they have to find a place in Waterloo. So the government needs to start having conversations, and I will advocate to make sure that Cambridge has those supports.
Thank you. Now we're still with housing, but we're going to move to senior housing. And this question is, as Canada's population ages, will you commit to work to ensure all seniors, particularly those in the lower income or special support needs, have access to safe and affordable housing? Lux, this question begins with you.
Thanks, Carla. Yes, absolutely. I've been out there knocking on doors, as I'm sure my colleagues here have, and that's probably one of the first things I hear from seniors is that, you know, their money isn't going as far as it used to, and they're worried about where they're going to live or how they're going to eat in the future. The Green Party of Canada supports a guaranteed livable income that would support these seniors through their retirement years. They shouldn't have to worry about where the next meal is going to come from or whether they're going to have a place to live next month. But by having a guaranteed livable income, the Green Party supports seniors for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. José?
As a New Democrat and as a Canadian, I believe that we need to strengthen retirement security and lift every senior out of poverty. Unfortunately, in Canada right now, there are seniors that are having to make decisions on whether they can buy their diabetes medication and pay for rent. And so that's why New Democrats in the last government pushed for dental care to make sure that seniors had access to health care, pushed for pharmacare, and we need the government to start signing more contracts with every single province and territory. And those are real, meaningful, and impactful ways to make sure that seniors can stay housed and can make sure that they are secure as it relates to their income. And the question is, how can we help seniors retire with dignity and security? And so part of that is increasing pensions, part of that is ensuring that retirement security is strengthened, but also supports such as strengthening dental care and expanding pharmacare so that seniors can live with dignity and respect.
Thank you. Bryan?
Thank you. First and foremost, we have built over 12,000 seniors, specific seniors housing units over the last number of years since 2017. But much more is necessary. And to José's point, it's not just about building more homes for seniors, which is important, it's also making life more affordable. And he's absolutely correct. The very proud of the over 2 million seniors that have already participated in the Canada Dental Plan. And I'm looking forward to getting back to Ottawa and pushing the provinces to add more to the pharmacare plan that we started just in October of last year. We know that the Conservative solution to this, because it happened, their solution was to raise the age of retirement to 67. And one of the first things that we did was eliminate that change, brought it back down to 65 because it was absolutely the right thing to do, and it kept over 100,000 seniors out of poverty.
Thank you. Now we're going to move over to the conversation of news. Misinformation of all types of media is common. Do you and your party agree to support the CBC to keep to keep each citizen informed, hold politicians accountable, and work to help maintain, enhance, and develop a unique sovereign Canadian culture? And we'll begin with José.
Thank you. And you talked about keeping politicians accountable. Unfortunately, not everyone that's running in this race think that it's a good idea to talk to you, the voters, about the issues and proposals that they have if elected. But let's talk about the CBC. New Democrats are committed to protecting the CBC and Radio-Canada and supporting 100% Canadian content. We're committed to making sure that in all communities and communities like ours with CBC-KW, Canadians have access to news and reporters in their communities, in their towns. In the age of mis and disinformation, it is easy to get lost in the trenches, and so we are committed to producing Canadian content, supporting Canadian content, and also funding Canadian content to ensure that Canadians are able to get the news when and where they need it.
Thank you. Bryan?
Again, absolutely, I will support the CBC. I grew up on the CBC. We all grew up on the CBC. We have seen the erosion over the 10 years of Stephen Harper, trying to attack the CBC, trying to belittle the CBC. This is an organization that is bound literally by law to maintain journalistic integrity. And that is more important now than ever. We know that the majority of our media that we consume in this country is owned by the United States. If now is not the right time to support the CBC, I don't know what is. And personally, I believe that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives want to scrap the CBC because they can't control the CBC. It's as simple as that. We are going to invest over $150 million to the underfunded CBC.
Thank you. Lux?
Thanks, Carla. Absolutely. The Green Party 100% supports funding the CBC. Attacks on media are not something new. They're happening now. Donald Trump is a master of media manipulation. And if we don't have publicly funded media to fight back and show the facts and show the truth, then what do we have? We must support our publicly funded media. And José mentioned it briefly, but we also have an empty podium here because one of our colleagues is afraid of the media and is afraid to talk to the media. And that's not acceptable in Canada. We need to be able to speak the truth and speak the facts and be a part of the conversation. Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to move over to climate change. And Bryan, this question you will begin. Do you agree that climate change needs to be tackled? And if so, what are the steps you and your party will pursue to reduce Canada's carbon emissions while balancing the needs of the economy and the energy sector?
Well, first of all, for those that may not agree out there, climate change is real. We know this. This has been at the core of all of our decisions over the last 10 years. We recognize that we cannot move forward with a strong economy without focusing on climate change and the need to transition to a green economy. 2024 was the hottest year on record, and we know this. Yes, we have the existential threat of Donald Trump and that distraction. We cannot lose sight of how important it is to focus on our commitments, whether it's keeping the tax on industrial polluting in this country should never be free, or focusing on new technologies. Cambridge is a nuclear superpower when it comes to green tech. Everything that goes into nuclear power plants are built right here in Cambridge, and we need to foster that.
Thank you. Lux, over to you.
Cambridge, if you're concerned about climate change, there's really only one party to vote for. The Conservatives don't even have a plan. The Liberals say that they care about climate change, but they bought a pipeline. The Liberals say they care about climate change, but Canada is almost last when it comes to climate action in the advanced world. There's only one party that cares about climate change, and that's the Green Party. Even the NDP has stepped back some of their climate goals. If you care about the climate, think green. That's all.
Bryan has a rebuttal, so we'll go to Bryan and then we'll go to you.
I think it just needs to be said that yes, we did build a pipeline. We were the first in 10 years to do so. And we know that pipelines are the most environmentally friendly way to get oil and gas to market. It's as simple as that. This is a transition period. We know that this product is going to be needed for a long time moving forward.
And now, Lux, you have a rebuttal to that.
There's no time for pipelines. No matter what the Liberals tell you, there is no time for pipelines. We are way past that. Climate change is now, and climate change is real, and there's no time to be buying more oil and gas in this country or giving subsidies to oil and gas companies. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now your turn.
Yes, climate change is real, and we are seeing in Canada, people are losing their homes, people are losing their livelihoods, and even their lives to wildfires, floods, and increasingly extreme weather across the country. And so we need and deserve a government and a member of parliament that's going to be able to work in Ottawa and across our communities to tackle climate change. Unfortunately, Canada right now has the worst record on climate action in the G7 and still provides more public funding and financing for oil and gas than any other G20 country. And so we need to stop the subsidies. We need to ensure that our government is committed to addressing climate change because Canadians are feeling it. Canadians are feeling it every single summer and winter, and we need to ensure that we are fighting the climate crisis.
Thank you. And Bryan does have a rebuttal. So Bryan?
Just very quickly to set the record straight, we have eliminated nearly every single oil and gas subsidy. What remains is very important for people to understand. What remains is subsidies for the oil and gas sector to clean orphan wells. That's it. And I guess you could also consider the subsidies for First Nations up in the high north that still use diesel. We need to get them off of that, absolutely, but we subsidize that as well. These are two things that we absolutely need to do. Cleaning the orphan wells is, in fact, good for the environment.
That was your time. Thank you. All right, now we're going to move to Indigenous rights and reconciliation. So Lux, you will begin this question. Will you advocate for the full implementation of Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action, particularly in the areas of land rights, education, healthcare, and clean drinking water?
The Green Party stands for truth and justice and reconciliation with the First Nations. We recognize that Indigenous rights are human rights, and we are committed to upholding the principles of the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous People. For too long, Indigenous communities have faced systemic injustice, boil water advisories, inadequate housing, and broken treaty promises. This must end. The Green Party will work in true partnership with First Nations to ensure full self-governance, respect for land and treaty rights, and proper funding for education, healthcare, and infrastructure. We also recognize the intergenerational trauma caused by residential schools and the ongoing crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. We will make meaningful action by implementing all Truth and Reconciliation Commission and murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls inquiry recommendations. Reconciliation is not just about words, it's about action. Together we can build a Canada where Indigenous sovereignty is respected and justice is realized.
Thank you. José?
Thank you. Indigenous Canadians deserve a government that will ensure that they have access to clean drinking water, schools, healthcare, and infrastructure. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People is now the law of the land, and yet even today there are many Indigenous peoples who are living without access to clean drinking water, access to education, healthcare, safe and affordable housing, and without essential infrastructure and supports. We need to change that now. As New Democrats, we are committed to building a true nation-to-nation approach, to implementing all of the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and standing with Indigenous peoples across the country to ensure that we move forward in a sense of reconciliation and justice and peace for all.
Thank you. Bryan?
One of the first things that our government did was recognize and accept all 94 recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I am very proud of the work that we have done to move this forward. 80% of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action have either been completed or are well underway. We know that there is more to do, but our record is clear. 147 drinking water advisories have been lifted under our government. We've built over 100 water treatment facilities on reservations in the last 10 years. We have moved the supports from $11 billion to $33 billion to make sure that we can get these things done. We appointed the first Governor General, Mary Simon, Indigenous Governor General Mary Simon. We appointed the very first Indigenous Supreme Court Justice. We know that the Conservative record on this is abysmal. The first thing Stephen Harper did was killed the Kelowna Accord, which set back First Nations relations by nearly 20 years.
Thank you. Okay, now we move to diversity, equality, and inclusion. José, this will be your first question. You will begin it. DEI initiatives are expanding in Canada. Well, it's being abandoned in the US. Will you promote inclusion and equality while ensuring fairness and opportunity for all Canadians?
Absolutely. Canada is a diverse country. We are an inclusive country, and we believe in equality. That's just who we are as Canadians, and that's what you deserve from your Member of Parliament. I am going to bring up again that there is an empty podium because this is an issue that we're seeing across party lines. There are different answers to that. And it ties into mis and disinformation as well, which was a question that we answered earlier. So we have to, and especially in a time where we're seeing Donald Trump cut so much of what has been accomplished over the last few decades in the United States, as Canadians, we have to stand up to defend diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just as words, not just as a good thing to say that we do, but as true, meaningful action. And even in the region of Waterloo right now, there's a motion that's coming up on Election Day at the Catholic School Board to ban pride flags. We need to make sure that our children, that our youth, our students, and our teachers can feel safe at work, can feel included, and can work in an environment that takes care of them.
Thank you. Bryan?
Canada is an incredibly strong country because of its diversity, not in spite of it. And I believe truly that our government needs to make sure that we maintain these supports and continue to move the needle on diversity in Canada. We are seeing in real time what's happening in the United States, the complete abandonment of these initiatives, not just across governments, but across the corporate level as well, at a breakneck speed, which tells me one thing, that they were never really real. And I can tell you in Canada, they are real. We enshrine trans rights into law. We have focused a lens of almost everything we do on a DEI basis. And I can tell you, we are not immune here in Canada. If the Conservatives get in, we are seeing the game plan played out in the United States in real time.
Thank you. Lux?
Thank you. Greens believe that everyone, regardless of who they are, deserves to live with dignity, safety, and full equality. Greens are committed to strengthening protections against discrimination, improving access to inclusive healthcare, and ensuring that LGBTQ youth feel supported in schools and communities. We will continue to fight for the rights of transgender and non-binary Canadians, including better access to gender-affirming care and ID that reflects their true identity. True equality means more than tolerance. It means celebration, respect, and justice. The Green Party is working to build a Canada where everyone can live freely and authentically. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we move to immigration. So Bryan, you will begin this question. Will you and your party support immigration that strengthens Canada's economy without overburdening housing, healthcare, and employment systems?
This is a question that we are getting a lot at the doors, and I imagine my colleagues that are out knocking doors are hearing this as well. That there's been too much immigration over the last number of years. We have to recognize the challenge of COVID. We had manufacturers coming to us saying we need more workers, we need more people. And quite frankly, we have an aging population, we have an aging workforce, and we need to replace that workforce. That being said, we have made the decision to slow that pace down, because we're seeing the downstream impacts, whether it's housing, whether it's the type of work, whether it's the suppressed wages. We need to make sure that we have a responsible system in front of us. One of the things that our government did was we stepped into the provincial arena and we capped the international students at 30%. I can go on and on about the challenges at the provincial level with that, but that in and of itself created a number of downstream impacts that we see right here in Cambridge.
Thank you. Lux?
The Green Party believes that immigration strengthens our country when it's done responsibly. Our policies prioritize fairness, compassion, and sustainability. We advocate for an immigration system that is efficient, transparent, and responsive to Canada's labour need while upholding human rights. We support the strategic increase of immigration levels, particularly in rural and underserved areas, to address workforce shortages and revitalise communities. we also recognize the importance of family reunification and advocate for faster processing times. Additionally, we believe in protecting refugees and asylum seekers by ensuring a fair and humane process. The Green Party is committed to addressing the root causes of migration, such as climate change and conflict, by supporting global environmental and peace-building initiatives. A just immigration system isn't just about numbers. It's about ensuring that newcomers are welcomed, supported, and given the opportunity to thrive.
Thank you. José?
New Democrats are calling for and believe in a fair and compassionate immigration system that strengthens Canada's economy. Unfortunately, as of December 31st of last year, there were 942,000 immigration cases in backlog, and so we need to get rid of the backlog and deal with those cases. But we also need to understand that 1 in 4 healthcare workers is an immigrant, which makes our healthcare system stronger. 1 in 5 small business owners is an immigrant, making our economy stronger. And so we need to build a sustainable, fair, and compassionate immigration system that makes sure that families can be reunited, that makes sure that we have supports for people in Canada, and that makes sure that we continue our bold and very incredible tradition of welcoming people, of building the mosaic that is Canada and strengthening this country.
Thank you. Now we move to the topic of the federal budget. So, Canada's federal deficit and public debt continue to grow. Do you believe it's possible to balance the budget without compromising essential public services and social programs? Lux, you'll begin this question.
As a Green Party candidate, I believe that fiscal responsibility and a sustainable future go hand in hand. Managing Canada's public debt isn't just about cutting costs. It's about making smart, forward-looking investments that strengthen our economy and our communities. The Green Party is committed to ending wasteful spending like fossil fuel subsidies and ensuring every public dollar goes toward things that truly matter, like healthcare, education, affordable housing, and clean energy. We support fair taxation, closing corporate loopholes, and making sure the ultra-wealthy contribute their fair share. Being fiscally responsible means planning not just for today, but for tomorrow. Building a resilient, low-carbon economy without passing the burden on to future generations. That's the kind of leadership that Canadians deserve.
Thank you. José?
The question this election is who's going to be fighting as it relates to the budget, the deficits, as it relates to all of the things that we have been talking about today. Who's going to be fighting for billionaires and big corporations, and who's going to be fighting for you, families and workers in Cambridge? New Democrats believe in investing in the services that we rely on and the infrastructure that our communities rely on, because now is not the time for cuts. We are in a time where workers are being laid off. We are in a time of economic uncertainty. And so to tackle the deficit and to make a budget that works for workers, we need to stop corporate loopholes. We need to make sure that we have a fair taxation system. And we need to make sure that workers and families are at the forefront of government decisions instead of big corporations and corporation handouts.
Bryan?
For the last number of years since we came out of COVID, I sit in the House Commons and I listen to the Conservatives talk about the runaway debt that exists within the Canadian government. What they never talk about is what that debt actually is. They never talk about the CERB. They never talk about the CEBA loans that helped businesses survive. They never talk about the 75% wage subsidies that kept people in their jobs, or the backstopping of the banks that kept people in their homes. We have to recognize where we are and how we got there in order to get out of debt. And Mark Carney is, I think, the best person potentially on the planet to be able to navigate the debt and the deficit. His background, I don't have to go into it, is well known. And I believe that he is the right person at the right time to lead Canada.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to national pipelines. And José, you'll begin this one. Do you support a building of a Trans-Canada pipeline to bypass the U.S.? And if so, how do you respond to concerns that economic benefits may come at a serious environmental cost?
Thank you. And I think that's the question we need to be asking, is the economic benefits versus the environmental cost. we must, and we talked about climate change already, but we must ensure that our government is focused on real climate change initiatives instead of proposing and buying more pipelines that can cause damages to local communities. And so as New Democrats, we believe in a climate change plan that doesn't include pipelines, but include a green economy, include a fair economy for all Canadians.
Thank you. Bryan?
Thank you. It's not a secret. We bought a pipeline. We built a pipeline. We doubled the TMX to make sure that we can get our product to market significantly. We know in the first 9 days, the only 9 days that Mark Carney was the Prime Minister of Canada, he was able to orchestrate a meeting with all the premiers to have these conversations and to get consensus from the premiers. And the fact that we are talking about now not just West Coast pipelines, but the potential of East Coast pipelines is very, very exciting. I know the challenges around climate change. You do not have to remind me of that. What I am saying is that if we're going to get our product to market and not sell it at a discount to the United States, we do not have a choice. We have to go either west or east, or preferably both. We know that the product it can be sold overseas. Mark Carney, one of the first things he did was go to Europe, had those conversations with both France and England to make sure that those alliances are solid.
Thank you. Lux?
Cambridge, I think you know my answer to this question. The Green Party is firmly against pipelines. We are committed to transitioning to a clean, sustainable energy future. We believe that the rapid transition of renewable energy is crucial to tackling climate change, creating jobs, and securing Canada's energy independence. Our policies focus instead on investing heavily in renewable sources like wind, solar, hydro, and geothermal, with the goal of powering Canada's economy with 100% renewable energy by 2050. We'll implement subsidies and tax incentives for individuals and businesses to adopt green technologies, including energy-efficient homes, electric vehicles, and solar panels. We also support the creation of green energy jobs, particularly in the communities most affected by the transition away from fossil fuel. By investing in a sustainable energy future, we can reduce carbon emissions, protect our environment, and build a thriving green economy for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to turn to military spending and meeting NATO commitments. So Bryan, you will start this round. Canada has not yet met NATO's 2% of the GDP defense spending target. Do you believe this is realistic, and how do you prioritize defense within the federal budget?
I sincerely wish that we had more than a minute to answer this question. I served as the parliamentary secretary to the Minister for National Defence for 2 years during the outbreak of war in Ukraine. And I can tell you firsthand the needs on base and across country to make sure that we have a proper resourced defence. We now are dealing with the reality of an untrusted partner, defence partner in the United States. We need to forge ahead. We need to do this, if not with the United States, on our own or with other trusted allies. The 2% target is something that we've already committed to. Mark Carney has already announced that he's going to accelerate that. But I would argue that Canada is the 6th largest economy in NATO, and we are the 6th largest contributor to NATO.
Thank you. Lux?
Thank you. Look, the Green Party of Canada recognizes the importance of international cooperation and peacekeeping, but we take a principled stand when it comes to NATO defense spending. We believe that true security is not achieved by increasing military budgets, but by addressing the root causes of conflict, like climate change, inequality, and human rights abuses. The Green Party opposes the push to meet NATO's target of 2% of GDP on military spending. Instead, we advocate for smarter investments in diplomacy, development, and sustainable security. Canada's role on the world stage should be one of peace building, not arms escalation. We must lead by example by promoting nonviolent conflict resolution, supporting disarmament, and prioritizing human and environmental security over outdated militaristic approaches. Let's redefine what safety means in the 21st century and invest instead in a peaceful future. Thank you.
Thank you. José?
In a time where our sovereignty has been questioned by what used to be our closest ally and closest neighbor, it is imperative that we meet the targets and get to 2% for NATO spending. But it also means ensuring that we fight and stand up for Arctic sovereignty, that we protect the border, that we ensure that our communities are safe, and work with other partners, as Bryan may mentioned, to understand that what used to be one of our closest allies isn't an ally anymore. And so we must look to other partners, and we must make sure that our national defense system is strong and that we're able to work together to protect the North for Arctic sovereignty and for the safety and well-being of every single Canadian.
Thank you. Now we move to the final question, and this one is economic stability and long-term growth. So Lux, you will begin this when I ask the question. In light of global economic uncertainty, inflation, and the rising cost of living, are there policies that you and your party would pursue seeking long-term economic stability for Canadians?
The Green Party understands that Canadians are struggling with rising costs. Housing, groceries, and daily essentials are becoming unaffordable. The Green Party has a bold plan to put people first. We will introduce a guaranteed livable income, ensuring that no one falls through the cracks. We will strengthen protections for workers, raise the minimum wage, and support small businesses, the backbone of our economy. Unlike other parties, we will stop giving billions in subsidies to big corporations and invest that money where it belongs, into the lives of everyday Canadians. The economy should work for people, not just the rich and powerful. The Green Party will build a future where everyone can afford a decent life. Thank you.
Thank you. José?
When we look at strengthening and long-term solutions to the economy, we need to understand that the heart of the economy is working people. When people are feeling, in this time of economic uncertainty, so worried about whether they can pay the bills, we have to ask, who is the economy working for? And we know that things are about to get tougher as more people get laid off and as Canadians try to understand what's going to come next from the White House. I'm focused on a growth that works for you and your family, where you have a chance to get ahead, to thrive, not just get by. And right now that means implementing plans and government solutions so that we can buy Canadian and build Canadian, so that we can strengthen our manufacturing sector, so that we can ensure that we have Canadian-made products and goods, but also Canadian jobs. That's the NDP approach to make sure that our economy is strong and works for people.
Thank you. And Bryan?
Thank you. I said this earlier, but what better person to lead us forward into a new economy than Mark Carney? This is a man who was the governor of the Bank of Canada during the economic downturn of 08 and 09, and he rose to the challenge to be able to have us navigate through that. He then was asked to take over as the governor of the Bank of England and had to deal with Brexit and rise to that challenge. I truly believe that, again, in the first 9 days as Prime Minister, he has shown that he is the right person to lead us moving forward. Some of the things he was able to accomplish in that time, cut taxes for the middle class, expanded on dental care, which will help on the affordability side, protection for workers and businesses, changes to EI so that they don't have to wait a week before they apply, and of course free trade in Canada. And this one's critical. The fact that he was able to get the ministers together to start the process of eliminating the interprovincial trade barriers is going to add $25 billion to our GDP.
Thank you. Now we enter closing statements. Each candidate will now have 1 minute for a closing statement. So Bryan, we'll begin with you.
Thank you. Before I became Member of Parliament, I lived and served this community. My work has always been about listening, showing up, and delivering results that actually make a difference. I've had thousands of conversations with residents that have informed my decisions. It's always been my priority to bring Cambridge and North Dumfries to the table and ensure that your voice is heard and respected. We've delivered on infrastructure, supporting manufacturing, small businesses, the tech sector, and of course, affordable housing. However, we are facing a global instability, economic uncertainty, and a changed relationship with our closest partner and friend. In times like these, our community needs a strong leader with experience who is willing to fight for everyone. I have proven that serving my community is my top priority. I ask for your vote. I ask for your trust so that we can rise to these new challenges and keep Cambridge, North Dumfries, and Canada strong.
Thank you. Lux?
Today I want to leave you with one simple truth. Real change doesn't come from the top down. It starts with us. Our communities are calling out for action on climate, on affordability, on justice. And the time for half measures is over. The Green Party offers more than just a different logo. We offer a bold vision on compassion, sustainability, and collaboration. We believe politics can be honest again, that decisions can be made for people, not just for profits. That we can't do it alone. This election, your voice matters more than ever. Let's vote for hope. Let's vote for action. Let's vote for change. Together, we can build a future that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. José?
Cambridge, I'm running to be your next member of parliament because I know what it feels like to go to school hungry. And right now in Canada, too many of our families are living in poverty and are food insecure. I'm running because I know the harsh reality of sitting around the kitchen table and not knowing if there's enough money to pay the rent and buy food that month. And that's the reality of many families in Canada right now. I'm running because in Canada, we dream no little dreams. We work hard. We take care of our neighbors when they need help. I'm running to be your next member of parliament for Cambridge because for too long, we have been told that this is as good as it gets. And friends, it's the people's time, and I'm in it for you, for families, for working and middle-class Canadians, for people that call Cambridge home, for 100,000 of my neighbors in the beautiful riding of Cambridge. I'm asking for your vote to take the fight to Ottawa on your behalf.
Thank you. And on behalf of Rogers TV and our community partners, Citizens for Cambridge, we want to thank the candidates for being a part of this debate. Be sure to tune in to Rogers TV on election night for the results, coverage beginning at 9:30. I'm Carla Fitzsimmons. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here.